Hi, my name is John Atkinson. I'm the editor of Stereophile magazine, and I'm sitting here with Philadelphia area retailer Doug White of The Voice That Is. Doug, that is a very unusual name for a high-end audio retailer.
Yeah.
How did it come about?
Well, I've been in audio for a long time, worked at a couple of dealerships, and I was very fortunate enough to actually have the support of my wife. I mean, it was there before we got married and everything, but the fact of the matter is that not every guy's wife really understands audio.
How long have you been married?
38 years. To my high school sweetheart, and that doesn't include the 5 years beforehand. But I wanted to honor her somehow. So Johnny Hartman's "My One and Only Love" was our song. Couldn't obviously name the company that. Didn't want to name it after her first name, which is Celeste.
Yeah.
And so I decided, Johnny Hartman. How can I tie the two of those things together? He has an album called "The Voice That Is." And I said, that's a little bit off the beaten track, but you know what? It'll make people ask me what it's all about.
Like I did.
So it works. It works that way.
Yeah. Yes, of course, Johnny Hartman has one of the deepest voices of any jazz singer. So
right.
I guess you must specialize in selling speakers with good bass.
Well, yes, I do. They actually do perform very well.
We were listening earlier this afternoon to the new title, Akira, which did have some good bass. The Voice That Is, you started in 2010. You were a drummer at some point in your life, playing in bands regularly. You worked in electronic engineering. Did you have a retail background also?
Yes, actually, in electronics, I was in field service and serviced my customers and got everything running really well, which left my afternoons open.
Yeah.
So having had realization that my system wasn't performing, to the level that I knew music was supposed to sound like, I sought out a high-end audio store and just came across Chestnut Hill Audio in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of hang out there, every day after work or whatever. And the next thing I know, I was unloading trucks and working on Wednesday nights and Friday nights and Saturdays.
The glamorous side of
retailing. The glamorous side of retailing. But what it allowed me to do was to support my hobby, habit, I don't know how we want to call that, but it allowed me to be around the equipment and find out what was right for me. And in the process, I learned for myself what was important from a customer standpoint. Mm. And then when I started working there, I started learning what was important to the customers who came through.
Right. And
a lot of people would come through the door with preconceived notions of what they want to buy or having a particular budget. And I took the extra time to find out really what was important to them. Musically, whether or not it was a particular aesthetic or if they had size constraints with regards to the speakers, things like that you don't find out when a customer comes and says, I want a pair of speakers and I have $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, which was back then, that's what you were able to pay. So I took the time. I took the time to ask the customer what was important and what were they ultimately looking for. And by the end of that time spent with them, they often moved away from a particular price point that they came in with into a price point that gave them longer term satisfaction because it was performing the way that they were actually, hoping the system to perform. If I didn't pay attention to what their needs were, I would have sold them a box.
And they never would have come back.
And they would have never come back, and that would have been that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much my goal. From Chestnut Hill Audio, I went to Soundex. They had 2 stores and a lot of big brands. I've worked with Krell, I've worked with Levinson, I've owned the both, I've worked with Spectral. I go back to crimping monster cable by hand, Janus subwoofers, cello, audio research. I've owned a lot of those brands, including Balanced Audio Technology and Past Labs and VTL and Lamb, and to go into speakers, Mirage back in the day, and ESP loudspeakers and Piega. So I have in Vandersteins, my very first pair of high-end audio speakers were Vandersteins. Love Richard Vanderstein.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, when I stop and I look at that experience, both in the retail environment and then being a customer as well, I want to turn all that around and make sure that when I'm working with someone, they actually can see that in me, and they can see the interest that I have in their music taste. And because we share a lot of the same music taste, I can build a system for them that they will have and enjoy for a long period of time. And that's what's important to me, and that's what I think high-end audio should be.
Amen to that sentiment, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How long has the Voice for This been in business, Doug?
The Voice of This has been in business for going on 7 years now.
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you are by appointment only.
Yes.
You don't have a traditional showroom.
That's correct.
What you do have is a room we're sitting in, which is, this is not like an audiophile laboratory room or a listening room. It's
Right.
more like an ordinary living room. Was that what
That's
you
correct.
wanted to do?
That's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to have an environment where a person felt at home.
Yeah.
I actually try and do that a lot at the shows. You've been to a couple of my rooms, and
Yes.
I'd like to try and make it look homey and comfortable as opposed to a man cave.
Yeah, with tube traps.
And everything. I mean, yes, I do have, acoustic treatment in the room, but it's attractive. I
Yeah.
try to make it attractive and minimalistic, if at all possible. Often, guys come to me and I encourage them to bring their significant others. And they do.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to be there. They just really don't. Just nor do they even want to be at the shows. But when I've watched them come into my room and come into my studio here, and they decompress. And I think that's, for me, I see the barrier going down because they really aren't into the music like their significant other is, like their husband is. And they really don't want to be there, but they took the trip because it was a weekend away or a day away. And when they come here, I want them to feel comfortable. So yes, it's by appointment only, and that is the best way for me to dedicate the time to people who are serious about music and the products that I carry.
Yeah, I mean, for Voice for This, you've been in existence 7 years. The world of high-end audio retailing has been changing rapidly,
Yes.
even before
Yes.
2010. So, what are the challenges that are facing you as a retailer who's selling high-end audio, high musical value products in a world which is increasingly turning to online? I mean, I don't know if you saw the news yesterday, but Sears may be closing down.
Yes.
And of course, Sears was the prototypical retailer. It was
Right.
the Amazon of the
Right.
19th century, and now they're
They're
just
going
going to
away.
disappear.
Right.
So what are the challenges that are facing a store like yours?
The challenges, I think, fall in the realm of the fact that people want instant gratification. I mean, they've come from you have the iPod, you stick it in your ears, you get instant music, and you get to go.
Yeah.
People don't take time to enjoy music the way that I was brought up
Right.
and brought into music. So the challenge to me is to get people to stop and enjoy the music, and want to get involved with music. So to get them to want to come and listen, to seek out the component that makes them happy,
Yeah.
especially when I have a very bespoke product such as Tidal, you're not going to find it at any corner.
Right.
So the challenge for me as a retailer is people see me at the show, be it in California or in Chicago, and they want to hear it locally.
Yeah.
It's just not that easy.
Right.
It's just not that easy. So you're not going to be able to buy it online. Okay, you're not going to. Sure, you can listen to some of my videos and get a sense for what it's doing. But as far as retailing is concerned, the challenges are all about people wanting to take time to achieve music in their homes.
Mm.
And it's something that no one really seems to have time anymore. We also have the economy to think about when we're talking about ultra high-end products such as this. It's a big deal. So when an individual comes to me looking for the products that I carry, I am paying a lot of attention to their needs overall.
Well, that I think is very important. Stereophile traditionally has always been a strong supporter of
Yes.
the audio retail community, but that's because we believe that our readers should be able to go to hear the products
Yes.
and hear how the retailer can assemble a musically satisfying system.
Right.
And if all the retailer is doing is having a box drop shipped to a customer but
Right.
not allowing them to audition, and is not offering any added value by putting together a musically satisfying, musically appropriate system, then why is the dealer earning a margin in the first place?
Exactly.
And that's what the online people are doing.
Right.
You just click, buy, and it comes the next day.
Right.
But there's no interaction. You may end up with something which is wrong for your needs. It looked good on the website, is wrong for your needs, and then what do you do?
Exactly.
I mean, we have a mutual friend in John Marks who
Right.
used to write for Stereophile,
Mhm.
and he said that, if you don't go to a traditional retailer, you will end up spending a lot more money
Exactly.
to end up with what you would have bought in the first
In the
place
first
had you
place.
gone to him.
Exactly.
Because you'll buy something it isn't wrong, you buy it isn't right, you buy something it isn't right, and you end up spending a lot more money.
That's very true. I have been known to not sell speakers to people because the not so much the type of music that they play, but how they play the music, their expectations of a speaker. And, I'm not doing them any favors, just taking their money.
Mhm.
I'm actually doing more harm than good because, yes, I would benefit of the sale, but the customer goes off with the wrong product, he damages it, so he loses money when he goes to resell it, and he's bad-mouthing me, and he's bad-mouthing the manufacturer. And that's not worth it. I'm a long-term.
Yeah. Well, there's that saying that, if you do something bad, if you do something good for somebody, he will tell his friend. If something goes wrong, he'll tell 10 friends.
10 friends, right.
So, I mean, I made this analogy years ago in a speech I was giving about retailers should be farmers, not fishermen.
Mhm.
The fisherman just sits there and waits for the catch to
Yes.
come to him.
Yes.
The farmer prepares the ground, the farmer sows the seed, and the farmer gets crop after crop after crop, year
Yes.
after year. And what you're saying is that is how you operate as a retailer.
Exactly.
You want your customers to come back to you,
Yes.
to maintain that relationship.
Exactly. I have actually done a couple shows and have had past customers come in and see what's happening in the show, and they come in, it's like, I can always count on good sound in your room, and I know that I'm secure in my own purchase,
Yeah.
because the only way I'm going to get better than what you've already sold me is to buy the next level up.
Yeah.
And that long-term relationship is huge. And I've actually had customers offer to share their sound with other people in their areas. If they can't get to me, they say, if they're in my area, have them come by. I'm happy to play my title for them.
Yeah. Of course, that long-term relationship then depends on you having a range of brands that you think will fulfill your customers' needs.
Yes.
How do you choose what brands you sell?
Well, first of all, it has to sound like music. That's the musician in me. It has to be built well. That's the engineer in me. It has to look good. That's the artist in me. So I take an extremely long time to make a decision. So the brands that I choose tend to hold all three of those values, and they play well together because I really love building systems. Even if you come into me for one component, I want to make sure that the component that I'm bringing to the table for you as a customer is the right component to give you the most musical enjoyment possible. And to me, that's important.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the systems we've been listening to, I see Bricasti, which we have very favourably reviewed.
Yes.
Bel Canto Black, we have favourably reviewed.
Yes.
Tidal we have not reviewed, but I did very much enjoy our listening session this afternoon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure having you.
So Doug was telling us that the secret of a high-end audio retailer is to nurture his customers in the long term, to have them form a relationship with the retailer. Doug, how do those audiophiles, those customers, how do they increase their relationship with the music?
Well, you know, the reality is that we're doing this for the music. I mean, that's what it's really all about. It should go out.
You played in bands.
I played in bands. I played hard rock, played fusion. All the time I had 60s jazz in my head with Coltrane and Miles Davis and the like. So my tastes are all over the place. You'll hear just about anything. Not too much country, but there's a little bit in there in my repertoire. But I tell you, what it really comes down to is the fact that because I played, and how I got involved with high-end audio was because I realized once I stopped playing that, you know, things were missing in my audio system. Music was missing. Instruments were just not coming through. And I think that music as a whole needs to be appreciated more. So audiophiles need to go out and support the music in their local venues, regardless of whether it's classical, jazz, rock, whatever. They need to go out and hear it. What that does is it gives you a baseline, because so much equipment is, you know, built on specs.
Yeah.
And not about musicality. My experience is some of the most wonderful sounding gear doesn't spec well. And some of the great sounding gear.
You know who you're talking to, right?
I know. Forgive me, but that's
the man who does all the measurements for Stereophile.
but it's the truth. I think that when we go out and listen, the average room that we listen to music in isn't a great room. It's just not a great room. But we're there for the music.
Yeah.
And I think that the audiophile needs to remember that it's about the music, and seek out the system that is performing for them. Find a retailer that is going to help them make the right decision. And more importantly, once you've come to that decision, don't forget that guy. Because if it wasn't for the fact that he made that investment for you or for the audiophile to come in and listen, that, you know, if you don't patronize him, then he can't afford to be there for you.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest struggles that I have, when people come to see me at the shows and actually write me back and call me up and tell me how great a job that I've done at the show, and then go out and buy it someplace else.
What? But
I live with that. It's not fair, because the shows are very expensive.
Well, but, I mean, then they're not getting that personal service. They're not getting that.
No, they're not.
They're not getting that. They're not getting what the benefit of the retailer's experience and knowledge base in putting the system together.
Exactly.
And that doesn't make sense. I mean, what do you then tell those customers when they come to you and say?
Well, I have to be professional about it. Yeah. It is painful. I invite them to allow me to work with them going forward.
Yeah.
It's a very delicate situation, because, you know, I can't tell them that, obviously, they used my work to buy the product, okay, so they made a good decision because I feel as though I made a good decision in the brands that I've chosen. But they haven't built the system, or they haven't worked with a retailer that was interested in them building a system. They were more transactional based and not relationship based. I'm long term. I want to watch you buy one component and build towards an ultimate goal of a musical system, and then live with that.
Yeah. There is one point I would make, is that if you're exhibiting at a show in Chicago, and your system is including, say, a preamp or a D2A processor made by one of the brands you carry, that brand has a Chicago dealer.
Exactly.
Then
they should buy it from that dealer.
They
should buy it from that dealer. And I go out of my way to qualify the people that call me about brands that I carry that are nationally recognized or nationally sold, because I respect that. I'm old school, okay? I want to put out the effort. I want people to buy from me because I've earned their business. If they come to me and I'm showing at Capitol Audio Fest, or I'm showing in Chicago, or if I just did the show in Newport for the first time last year, which is now unfortunately not there, when people called me up and said that they saw Bricasti, or they saw an Arender, or different cables, and I asked them where they're calling me from. And if they're telling me they're calling me from an area where I know that there's a dealer, I will answer their questions but I will invite them to go call their
Right.
dealer and have him earn their business.
Yeah, that's the honourable thing to do.
I think it's only right. And frankly, if all dealers did that, I think the industry as a whole would be a lot better off.
Well, thank you, Doug.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you
for
so
coming.
much.
I love it.